No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Trump, COVID positive. Trump, we now know, not tested every day. Stephen Miller, COVID positive. The Joint Chiefs of Staff quarantined. Anybody in the White House told that if they are to come within 6 feet of Clorox Don, they must gown up, wear masks, wear goggles, wear gloves. A suitable metaphor for our times. Don't get near Trump without protection. This advice would have been useful in 2015. This long since stopped being political. Those who ignored this pandemic and the simple, almost comically simple, measures available to mitigate it are not conservatives or Republicans or fascists. They are selfish scum. And those who warned of this pandemic and acted to protect others are not liberals or Democrats. They are responsible human beings. I believe the empathy in John Donne's poem is owed to the generous, to the sharing, to those who are involved in mankind, because never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. The bell has tolled 211,000 times in this country so far. The projection from the pandemic model at the University of Washington produces the grave conclusion that before this year ends, in the next 85 days, that bell will have tolled 363,000 times. 152,000 more dead by New Year's Eve. But that projection also concludes that if somehow this country went from 50% utilization of masks in communicable circumstances to 95% utilization, if we could do that, the projection concludes that 86,000 of those who otherwise will die would not die. If these shameless, self-obsessed, ignorant bastards will put masks on, there will be 86,000 fewer funerals by New Year's Eve. But they won't. And the primary reason they won't is Donald John Trump. 86,000 Americans, our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones, will die needlessly because that creature in drug-fueled denial cannot bring himself to think of others for even one moment. There are 86,000 Americans living right now whom he will kill, and millions more who will be at risk, just as those Secret Service agents pressed into the suicide mission of traveling with him so he could wave to the Proud Boys were at risk, just as everybody in the White House since Monday night are at risk for this creature's ego. Even when he, the only person in this country who is fully and completely and personally responsible for his own infection, has needed experimental drugs and high-risk treatments to battle the virus, treatments which he received from us after paying $750 in taxes. Even after that, this creature, Trump, denied science, denied logic, intelligence, advice, experience, information, statistics, mathematics for himself, as he denied them for our country. He is the root cause of all the avoidable infections, of all the avoidable deaths. And I do not want to hear platitudes about how, of course, we wish him a speedy return and recovery so he can get back to the office and set in place and reinforce policies that will kill 86,000 more of us before New Year's Eve. Viral transmission accomplished. We all know this. We all fear this. So many of us refuse to say this aloud. Negligently or intentionally, the President of the United States is a mass murderer. The President of the United States is the leading cause of death in this country. The President of the United States has also destroyed this economy. The President of the United States is also again working with Russia to alter the election. The President of the United States is intending to nullify the election. The President of the United States is, for all intents and purposes, a terrorist. He has, in the 6 long years since his declaration of candidacy, accomplished more material, more practical, more long-lasting damage to this country and what it stands for than Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all the rest could ever have dreamed of combined. He has allowed the deadly invasion of this country in the form of a disease that could have been checked and contained and would have killed some of us, but not 211,000. Not more than were killed in Vietnam, Korea, and Iraq combined. He has encouraged white nationalist terrorism, defended it, made up excuses for it, signaled to it, endorsed its vermin leaders, echoed its revolting tenets, gone out and risked the lives of Secret Service agents to wave to it, provided a definition of stochastic terrorism, of terrorism by inspiration and by proxy, of encouraging the terror but having others actually do it. He has supported the white national terror groups, the Nazis, subtly. And he has supported them overtly in the debate. He wrote their new motto for them. He has again refused to guarantee a peaceful transition of power if he loses. He says, in one breath, he will accept defeat in a fair election, and then says the only way he can lose any election is if the other side has cheated. He has already revealed repeatedly, openly, that he expects to go to a Supreme Court which has been packed in his favor with unqualified toadies, and now with a judge who puts misogyny and religion before the laws of our country. He has betrayed our country and betrays it today, when a Russian agent who has been in regular contact with the president's circle was caught interfering with next month's election and sanctioned by our government. Trump's lackeys ordered the news buried. 6 days ago, Trump's own former national security advisor concluded Trump is, quote, aiding and abetting Putin's interference in next month's election. H.R. McMaster might as well have said, Trump is a traitor, because he is. He does not care what we stand for, what we have stood for, what we believe. He does not care about your naive laws. He does not care about your attempts to shame him. He does not care about you or us. He does not even care about the slime who flourish under his racist, vengeful, sadistic regime. He has sold them out time and time again and would send them to hell for a minute more of power or another second avoiding jail. He does not care if this country is a democracy or a dictatorship. There is no one inside him. There are just mirrors. There are just animalistic urges to control, to rule, to bully. There is no conscience. There is no soul. There is no brain, as you and I understand the term. There is only self-interest. There is a being that, because it has not died, may well believe it will never die. And because of this void, because of the brain that does not work right, there are tens of thousands more Americans dead and 86,000 more yet to die who should never have been at risk. But because protecting them worked against his con man's pitch, against his desire to convince the maggots that he is infallible, against his existential need to hurt others, he would not do what was necessary to fight this pandemic. And for now at least, because of him, we, human beings, we are no longer the dominant life form on this planet. Earth is now ruled by a virus, and America is now ruled by a madman. Spare me the thoughts and prayers. My thoughts and prayers go to the thousands he will yet kill this year. Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for the victims of Donald Trump. We all know this. We all fear this. We all refuse to say this aloud. Negligently or intentionally, Donald John Trump is a mass murderer. Donald John Trump is back in place now with 86,000 more victims lined up to kill. Donald John Trump is a terrorist. Donald John Trump is the worst terrorist this country has ever faced. And Donald John Trump's reign of terror over us must end. Trump is not the worst president in the history of the United States of America. Trump is the worst person in the history of the United States of America. All right, this is how this is going to work. Obviously, the commentary you have just heard. I'll bring this on YouTube starting at 5 o'clock Eastern Time every day. And then a few minutes more of the headlines of the day's news that, for whatever reason, did not fit into the commentary. The vice presidential debate is the first of those headlines. Cancel it. There is more plastic in Kimberly Guilfoyle than there is being used to protect Senator Kamala Harris. Pence should be assumed to be a carrier, and if they actually do debate, don't be shocked if Pence is perceived as winning. Not that he's anything more than a prop. I was going to say human prop, but that's not quite accurate. But he was a radio talk show host, a conservative radio talk show host, and the ability to sling sophistry at 100 miles an hour is the only skill in that field, and he was fairly good at it. Related to the debate, though, Stephen Miller testing positive. The joke is obvious. The thing started supposedly in bats, and it's now just returning to its point of origin. But just as true, his wife, Stephen Miller's wife, Katie, is Pence's official in-house liar. And she's the one who attacked Senator Harris for wanting the precautions during the debate in the first place. If she wants to build a fortress around herself, moron. But if you watch the debate, think about this degree of self-delusion. Katie Miller had COVID-19 in the spring, and now her husband has it. And she's mocking those who want to not have it. You ask, what kind of judgment could she possibly have? Well, she married Stephen Miller. On the COVID-19 stimulus cutoff, shock. Nearly 3/4 of Americans want that stimulus. So naturally, Trump is playing to his base by denying it, playing games with it. 4 weeks from now, that base may consist entirely of the voices in his head. Even he saw the idiocy and updated his position last night to include a $1,200 standalone bill, which we'll see if that comes to pass. But among the other things that has fallen into the pits because of this dance that Trump is doing on this subject, while he pretends that the vaccine is being mixed up in the White House basement, the stimulus negotiations that he walked away from include the money to distribute a vaccine, whether it comes from his basement or anywhere else. The money provided so far, $200 million. The amount of money we need to distribute it just in the U.S., $6 billion. We're right on pace there, aren't we? Polling, Biden plus 16 in the CNN poll, plus 12 in a Rasmussen poll, weighted heavily towards the right wing. You know who the Rasmussens are. They were the ones who founded ESPN and then gave it away. And I know, PTSD still reigns in this country and suitably over the 2016 polling. But here is a bit of comfort. Nate Cohn, who is the polling and demographics expert of the New York Times, tweeted that if the polls were exactly as wrong as they were over the last 3 weeks in 2016, Biden would still win with over 300 electoral votes. So assume nothing in the next 4 weeks. Act not with fear, though, but with vengeance. 3 other notes. Trump's tax-free hair. This also from the New York Times. The $70,000 deduction before he got the $72 million refund, like we all haven't gotten $72 million refunds from the IRS. The $70,000 deduction for hair care during The Apprentice is, according to tax experts, illegal. Hairstylists are not tax-free. Hair is not tax-free. Although Trump's hair obviously does look like it is held in place by tax. A note about the handmaid Supreme Court Justice. Amy Coney Barrett was not just in the fundamentalist sect upon which The Handmaid's Tale was based, loosely. She was in fact, her title was in fact, handmaid, we are told. She signed her name to an ad demanding the end of Roe v. Wade and the prosecution of abortion providers. This court position is more important right now to the conservatives and the fascists than is the election itself, because it would let them rule over the rest of us by proxy for decades to come. And she has already made up her mind on perhaps the most pressing issue that will come up after Affordable Care Act. And like any good judge, you make up your mind in advance before you even become a judge. She should withdraw and she should resign, but she won't. Roe v. Wade will have to be protected by new laws, or the number of judges on the court changed. By the way, the number of judges on the Supreme Court has changed 5 times in our history. It is not the revealed word. And lastly, I will leave you with this and bid you farewell until tomorrow. That St. Louis gun nut couple, the lawyers who went outside because a protest march was going past their house and cocked their guns and pointed them at the protesters, and then were surprisingly enough actually indicted for what they did. They've also been indicted for tampering with evidence. A couple of lawyers tampering with evidence to protect themselves when they are lawyers, guns, and money. Good night and good luck.